Hey, good evening, folks. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. My name is Dave Rempis. I'm a saxophonist based in Chicago, and I'm broadcasting to you tonight from my practice space here at the Unity Lutheran Church in the Edgewater neighborhood of Chicago. Very happy to be back again this week. Thank you all for joining me. This is the 13th in a series of Wednesday night live concerts that I've been doing during the COVID era. I've been timing those Wednesday night concerts to coincide with a weekly digital-only release on my record label Aerophonic Records. You can find Aerophonic online at aerophonicrecords.com. Pretty much all of my recorded work for the last 7 years has come out there, and these digital releases were now on our 13th, I believe, since the beginning of this era. I'll announce the new one tonight in a little bit. Last week's brand new release was titled Sugar Shack. That features myself on saxophones, Terry X from the Dutch punk band The X on guitar, and Tim Daisy, a longtime collaborator of mine, on drums. That one was recorded back in 2013 in Milwaukee at Okafest at the Sugar Maple Bar. And all the proceeds from that record are going to benefit a fantastic music and dance ensemble, as well as a cultural organization in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia called Fendika. So if you haven't picked up that release, please do. All those proceeds will be going to help Fendika during the pandemic, but also during a lot of political unrest in Ethiopia at the moment. On our way in, we were checking out Ed Wilkerson's Eight Bold Souls. If you don't know Ed, he's an incredible Chicago saxophonist, reedist, composer, band leader. Eight Bold Souls was his working band for many, many years. And that record was from 1987. That was titled Eight Bold Souls and came out on the Sesam's record label. I don't have that release. I was playing it off YouTube, but I definitely recommend that you check Ed out. The reason I brought that up and have been thinking about Ed is because I'm preparing to help organize a concert for him and Avriel Ra this coming Sunday morning as part of the Hyde Park Jazz Festival's postcard series. They're going to be performing at sunrise at 6 a.m. down at 65th and the Lake in Chicago by La Rabida Children's Hospital in a spot that they both used to perform at and work quite regularly with Kalan Phil Karan in that spot for many years. I think particularly in the 70s and 80s when he was leading percussion jam sessions there during the sunrise hours on a regular basis. So I'm really excited to go see those guys this weekend, and I urge you to check both of them out. Ed and Avriel, I think, are both undersung heroes of the Chicago jazz scene, so be sure to give them a listen. I'm going to start tonight on tenor saxophone playing an improvisation for you, and once again, thank you for joining me. Mm-hmm. Thanks very much. That was a little tenor saxophone improvisation to kick things off tonight. As I mentioned before, my record label is aerophonicrecords.com. Please check that out online. That's where you can get a lot of my recorded material. And that's where I've been putting a lot of my focus and effort during these COVID times when we can't really be out touring and playing as we normally might. All the proceeds from these digital releases that I've been doing each week are getting split between the various musicians on them also, so it's kind of an opportunity to raise some funds for other musicians who I might normally be able to pay to do a concert, but in this time period, hopefully I can pay them to join me on a record. More about that in a little bit. I'm going to continue with another piece though, this time on alto saxophone. It's been a while since I did a bunch of improvising. I've been kind of focusing on playing tunes a lot on these streams each week, so I thought I might focus a little bit more on doing some improvisations this week. So this is going to be another improvisation on alto saxophone. Thanks very much. That was a improvisation on alto saxophone. So tonight is the point in the concert where I normally announce the weekly release. This week's release is a brand new record that came out this afternoon called Harmattan, which I have a difficult time saying. I'm never sure if it's Harmattan or Harmattan or Harmattan, but basically it's a wind that blows out of the Sahara Desert in West Africa and blows southwards and sends dust all across the more lush parts of West Africa along the coast every year. And that record was recorded here in Chicago at the Whistler, which is a kind of fancy pants cocktail bar. I did a 1 month stand there in February of 2019 with my friend Jeremy Cunningham, who's a great drummer in Chicago. For our 4-week Tuesday night residency, we pieced together a different group each week with the same lineup or instrumentation. So it was always 2 horns, a bass player, and 2 drummers. But each week it was a different pool of musicians, including some really incredible folks like Russ Johnson on trumpet, Mars Williams on saxophones, Ayana Woods on bass, Katie Ernst on bass, Joshua Abrams on bass. And Jeremy was on drums each week. For the different weeks we had Avriel Ra 1 week, we had Tyler Damon 1 week, Quinn Kirshner 1 week, and Isaiah Spencer. So this release was from the second Tuesday night that we did back in February 2019. And the whole lineup for the release is Russ Johnson on trumpet, myself on saxophones, Joshua Abrams on bass, Isaiah Spencer on drums, and Jeremy Cunningham also on drums. It was the second set of the night. I chose this one out of all the different sets that got recorded during that stand because I remember back at the time it felt like a really powerful set of music. Actually, at the set break that night, we found out that a vocalist in Chicago, a pretty young guy in his late 30s, had just passed away. Salik Ziad is that vocalist, fantastic young musician. He was a part of the AACM. He and Isaiah had gone to school together at the AACM music school and had been friends for a long time. And Salik had been sick for some time, but we got the news on the set break that night that he had passed away. And so the second set, although we didn't talk about it, really ended up feeling like a tribute to Salik. Isaiah, I think, was the only person in the band who was really good friends with Salik, but all of us knew him in some capacity or another. So yeah, to some extent, I think this record is kind of a dedication to him. I urge you to check it out. Once again, it's at aerophonicrecords.com under the digital releases page. Right there. It came out this afternoon, and it's called Harmattan or Harmattan or whatever that word is. Harmattan. So yeah, please do check that out. It's available now, and as I mentioned before, all the proceeds from these records are split evenly between all of the different musicians on them. So it's a bit of a fundraiser at the moment for musicians who continue to be out of work. So I'm going to continue now with another piece. This is going to be a baritone saxophone improvisation. Word has it from up above that my mother may be tuning in tonight. So Mom, if you're watching, hello, thanks for tuning in. I think this may be the first time she's tuned in live to my Wednesday night stream, so glad to have you here. Love you. And yeah, here's some baritone saxophone for you. Thank you, baritone saxophone improvisation for you there. I'm going to continue with another piece on alto saxophone. This one I want to dedicate to a friend. I just heard the news last night that an old friend of mine, Ron Gaskin, who was a presenter in Toronto for many, many years, organized concerts for people really from all over the world, particularly in the late 90s and 2000s. Ron passed away last night, surrounded by his family and friends. He'd been in bad health for quite some time. He had ongoing kidney issues for more than 20 years now. I think he had a kidney transplant about 10 or 12 years ago, and had really been in rough shape for some time. He passed away last night and was surrounded by his friends and family, as I mentioned, and friends really from all over the globe who were sending him well wishes and trying to send him off in style, because it was clear that he was pretty much on his last legs. So I was pretty sad to hear that last night. Ron, as I mentioned, organized a lot of concerts for people. My first experiences with him were with the Vandermark 5 when I first started touring as a young musician in the late 90s. I think the first time that band played in Toronto was 1999 at a place called Transac that's still there. It's some type of social club. I want to say it's like a Croatian social club or something like that, but it was one of the many different venues that Ron used to organize concerts up there. He also presented the Vandermark 5 at a beautiful place called the Top of the Senator, which is a very old school jazz club in the kind of eastern side of Toronto. There was a great diner downstairs. It felt like you were walking into the 1940s, and then this jazz club upstairs was really one of those kind of old school, almost like supper club type places. And we did a couple nights there with the Vandermark 5, I think back in 2000 or 2001, somewhere way back there. Ron also organized a show for me on the second tour of my own that I organized in the United States and Canada. Back in 2003, I took my band Triage with Tim Daisy and Jason Najemian out on the road, and we had about a 2.5-week tour of North America. And our first stop was actually going to be Toronto. We left Chicago in Tim's minivan at I think about 5 o'clock in the afternoon on I believe it was a Wednesday night, Tuesday night actually, and we were driving to Toronto. We were going to spend the night in probably Flint, Michigan, and drive the rest of the way to Toronto from Chicago the next day. As we got outside of Chicago, about an hour, we were in Michigan City, Indiana, which is right on the Indiana-Michigan border, and the back tire of the van blew out. And by this time was about 8 p.m. in Indiana, 7:30 or so, on a Tuesday night, and we're trying to find an auto garage in a pretty relatively rural area. And somehow we did manage to actually find an auto garage that was open, that was kind of an industrial place where mostly semi-trailers and that kind of thing would go to be repaired. And it's really the closest experience on tour I can say that I've ever had to being in a David Lynch film, where we pulled around back to this giant kind of barn type thing, and these two guys were back in the barn, and one of them was kind of clearly the boss, this taller guy with white hair, and the other guy was kind of more of the worker guy who was wearing a greasy jumpsuit kind of thing. And we said we need a new tire, and the boss said, looks like you need a new tire. And then the guy in the kind of grease monkey suit would sort of jump around and say, yeah boss, yeah, need a new tire, and basically repeat everything this guy said. So it was really one of the creepiest experiences I had on tour. We somehow managed to get out of there after having spent about $80 on a tire, and continued on our way. Made it to Flint that night, but it was clear that something was wrong with the van still. So the next morning we spent 4 hours at a Jiffy Lube in Flint, Michigan, getting Tim's minivan kind of overhauled with ball bearings replaced, and a number of other things that had to be done on the van to make it pretty much ship-worthy for this tour we were doing. And so we thought everything was good. We continued on our way, got across the Canadian border. We stopped at a rest stop, and I called Ron Gaskin and said, Ron, we're about 2 hours away. We should be there, about 6 o'clock or so. And so this is probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're 2 hours outside of Toronto on the 401, the Queen's Expressway, which is, for anyone who knows that part of Canada, it's a very, very busy highway, particularly at rush hour. And as we're driving along, Jason Najemian, our bass player, who now flies airplanes in Alaska, was driving the van with his left foot sticking out the window and doing about 85 miles an hour when the left rear tire of the van popped, the same tire we'd had replaced. And we ended up on the left side of the road with all this traffic flying past us, completely flat tire, really not sure what to do. And luckily, a Canadian police officer, state trooper, pulled up behind us just a couple minutes later. Somehow they got the word and got there really quick. And so he pulled up behind us and, got out of his car and walked up to the car and said, "Oh, it looks like you got a flat." And luckily there was an exit just across the road. So, I mean, really just across the road, but basically we had to drive straight across this very busy highway to get off the off ramp. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to turn my lights on. And as soon as I turn my lights on, you should go and I'll follow you." And we said, "Okay," and got in the car. He got in his car, turned his lights on. Tim was driving, and Tim just kind of froze behind the wheel because every time he looked, there were, just 4 lanes of cars flying by at about 75 miles an hour. And he wasn't about to pull out into this traffic. He just couldn't do it. So we see the door behind us open again. The cop gets out of his car and he walks up to our window and he says, "Look, when I turn my lights on, you're going to have to go or you're going to get a semi up your arse." And so he went back to his car, turned his lights on. We went, somehow or other, we made it across these 4 lanes of traffic thanks to this helpful guy. And there happened to be a Chrysler dealership right off the exit where we then got all 4 tires on the van replaced at the same time. So before the tour had even begun, we'd put about $800 into the van. So this was my lesson learned, that you should always get a rental van when you're going on tour. So somehow or other, we finally made it to Toronto for the gig about an hour late. Folks were waiting for us. The gig was right in downtown Toronto near Queen and Yonge Street. And so we just got there, loaded in, played the gig as fast as we could. Because people had already been waiting for a while. And Ron was very kind afterwards to take us out for an incredible meal of Chinese barbecued duck. And for anyone who's been to Toronto, there's a huge Asian community there and some amazing restaurants. And of course, Ron knew them all and took us to one of them and really salvaged our day out of a long travel day with a lot of ugly experiences. But Ron pulled it through for us. So I want to play a tune for Ron now. This is by the great saxophonist. I take it back. This is by the great bassist Dudu Pukwana. This is off his record Song for Bika that he did with Don Cherry, Dudu Pukwana, and Shaka Shoko on drums. This is called "Wish You Sunshine," and this goes out to Ron Gaskin wherever you are, Ron. Thanks. That was Wish You Sunshine by Johnny Diani in tribute to my friend Ron Gaskin. As I was thinking of some stories to tell about Toronto, it occurred to me that I have a few funny ones. The other ones that come to mind were this time when the Van Mark 5 was playing the Top of the Senator, this kind of classic jazz club. We were driving into town, and it was rush hour again on a Friday night, trying to get into Toronto and drive all the way from west to east across town to drive down the Dom Valley Parkway. If you've been to Toronto and been on that road, the Dom Valley basically goes north to south from kind of way up in the hills, like very steeply downwards towards the lake and towards downtown Toronto. So it's really kind of a hairy drive. It's a bit tight. There's not much of a breakdown lane. And we'd been stuck in traffic for probably 3-4 hours at that point. And Jeb Bishop was driving the minivan with three of us, and we were followed by two other people behind us, Tim Mulvena, who was the drummer at the time, and Ken Vandermark was in the car behind us. And so we were caravanning along and coming down the Dom Valley Parkway, these big hills coming down, and Jeb decided that he needed to go to the bathroom right away. He could not wait any longer. He'd been waiting for hours. So he pulls over onto the side of the road on the Dom Valley where, there's about half a breakdown lane, basically. So the car's already sticking out into traffic. He just flings the door open, and this, oncoming car has to swerve around it. Everybody's honking, and he starts to jump out of the car. And as he is, I notice that the car is still in drive. And we're parked out, we're on this downslope. So Kent Kessler, the bass player, and I both yelled at him, "Jeb!" And he thankfully grabbed it, put it in drive, and then jumped out of the car and ran over to the side of the road. And kind of everybody in the band was pretty livid at that moment. And because all of this had just happened so suddenly with no notice, and he'd almost killed us. And he jumped over the guardrail and was standing in kind of the woods there. And I have never heard anybody piss for that long in my life. He must have been going to the bathroom for about 5 minutes. So by the time he was done, we realized, okay, he actually really did need to go to the bathroom. The other Toronto story that I like was a tour we did in about 2006 or 2007. I think this was a show that Ron helped with, but he didn't actually promote himself. It was through the Music Gallery, which is a great organization and former venue in Toronto that does shows at different places around town. This one was at a big church. I think it was called St. Paul's in downtown Toronto. And we got into town early that day. I can't remember why, but we had kind of an early sound check at the venue, and afterwards we had this band meeting. And Ken, for anyone who knows him, is a very serious musician, very astute, very hardworking, and he really liked to rehearse a lot with his band. He was very particular about how everything went. And he basically sat us down about halfway into the tour to kind of express his dissatisfaction with the concerts the last couple nights and let us know that we needed to, shape up and focus and really get it back together, basically. So this was kind of a bit of a tense discussion, and we all walked off, some of us, I think, were a bit upset, but we basically knew the gig that night needed to be really good and everything needed to go right. So there was actually a church concert before us that night, and we only had about a half hour after the church concert was done for all of those people to leave, all of our audience to come in, and for us to set up and be playing, because there was both a tight turnover and a curfew at the church. So as we go to set up and make this very quick changeover, we're back in the green room where we left our instruments earlier that day, and Tim Daisy starts looking around, and then he says, "Has anyone seen my cymbals?" And the look on everybody's face, knowing that we couldn't let anything go wrong on this gig, but somehow Tim's cymbals were missing. And they weren't in the van, and they weren't in the green room. And as we thought back through it, Tim realized that he had left them on the sidewalk as we were loading the van that morning at a motel in Detroit. So somehow or other, we got some cymbals, thanks to Ron, who got a friend of his to bring some cymbals over real quick, and we were able to do the gig. But that was kind of a tense moment for a little bit there. So yeah, that's my last story. Once again, the new release for this week is called Harmattan. It's available at Aerophonic Records, recorded live at the Whistler in Chicago in February 2019, featuring the great Russ Johnson on trumpet, myself on saxophones, Joshua Abrams on bass, Isaiah Spencer on drums, and Jeremy Cunningham on drums. I think it's a really beautiful set of music. I hope you'll check it out. Aerophonicrecords.com. Once again, I'm going to finish tonight, after all my talking, with a piece that I learned for a friend's wedding last year, which they decided not to do, and I played a different piece. But this is a famous tune made famous mostly by Etta James called At Last. So yeah, this also goes out to Ron and to all of you for sticking with me through all of these broadcasts the last few weeks. Thank you again for being here, and this is At Last. Thanks, there was that last. Finishing it out there. I'm going to take us out tonight with some Gui Band featuring Dudu Pequana, Chris McGregor, Ronnie Beer, Gui. I can't say his last name. But yeah, I'm going to take you out with that. If you're around this Friday and you happen to be in Chicago, I'm going to be doing a live concert in Margate Park with Tyler Damon on drums. You're most welcome to come to that at 5 p.m. If you're not in Chicago, we'll also be streaming that live on Instagram. At Dave Rempis is my Instagram handle, so hope you can come check that out. Also going to be doing a concert with Tim Daisy on Sunday the 30th, similar format. And I will be back here next Wednesday, daverempis.com live or over at Twitch, doing my solo weekly stream. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it, and enjoy some Gui Band on the way out. Have a great night.